Jeremy Jackson with DripMadeLive. I hope you're enjoying the content, and if you like this, you can watch it happen live from 8 to 11 p.m. Central Time on most weekdays. You can find that at YouTube, at Rumble, or at X, all at DripMadeLive. So, thank you for joining us. Hit all the buttons, and enjoy the show. Right now, let's get these aquas set up. So I'm going to switch to my Benchmate, and we're going to set these up in a gray plate. There we go. Set these up in a gray plate like so. Oh, I mentioned him last time, but you see the sticker up here. If you want one of those stickers, send me an email, dml@jacksonfamilyjewels.com. I will gladly send that to you free of charge. Okay. Alright, let's get our aqua settings in place and we'll get to work. Just gently warming this thermal lock. Thank you for everyone who tuned in to episode 6 last night. We worked on a big garnet pair. Tourmaline pair. We worked on a couple of oval sapphires, and we set a diamond pendant. All of those are nearly ready to go. We might use the diamond pendant today as our test for our rhodium plating. Okay, got that nice and warmed up. Let's see here. I'm gonna have to heat that just a little more and heat the plate that it's on, just to make sure we get that thermal lock nice and fluid. While we wait on that, I'm going to make sure we are live everywhere. Looks like it. Okay, just going to press those baskets down into our gray plate. Just like so. There we go. We're going to mush some of that thermal lock up and around the setting to hold them in place. And at this point, that's almost cool to the touch, but it still wants to move rather nicely until it reaches room temperature. Okay, so we've got some aquas we're going to set in those. Okay. Oh my goodness, Microsoft pop-ups. Okay, here we go. go to our microscope and take a good look at these settings. Alright, they left us plenty of prong to play with there. I like the tall prongs because they're a little bit easier to tighten stones with. I think that's going to fit beautifully. I think those will work really well. Okay. Now, looking at these aquas, they are a little bit unusually shaped. They've got a very deep belly and a very shallow crown. So we're going to have to make our cuts to fit that. It won't be very difficult, but got to take into account that shallow crown. Otherwise, you're going to have some funky looking prongs. Take a look at the other one here. Same thing, very shallow crown, very deep belly. Nicely cut. You wouldn't call this a diamond cut, but it is a full cut. I tried to put the same facets in there, but it just doesn't look the same. Okay, let us get started. I'm going to use a 70 degree burr. It's about the same size as the stones, and all I'm going to do is put a little notch, just as a guideline. Match the height on all these prongs. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Trying to get those uniform. I'm going to zoom in and see what we can see here. I'm going to be chasing these around in the microscope quite a bit, so just be warned, I might be moving around a lot. I prefer to undercut these. Some jewelers may approach it with a setting burr of the same size as the stone. I think I think I'd much rather undercut on something like this. I think it's safer on the stone, because if you setting burr it, you have to bend that prong a long way over, and sometimes it's hard to account for how cleanly that prong will bend. In that, when you bend that over a prong, you want it to wrap over the top of the crown, but you don't want it to pinch down on the edge of the girdle. So with this, with the setting burr and cutting it that way, you may come in straight down. You'll have a straight seat for the top, but you have to bend all the way over to meet the top of the stone. If you don't relief that correctly, you're going to put too much pressure on the girdle as you're bending that over. And on a colored stone, that is a dangerous game to play. On a diamond, sure, probably get away with it, as long as you don't have any major inclusions. But don't really want to take those chances unless you have to. That's why I'd prefer to undercut. We'll bend these prongs back, we'll sneak our stone in, and then we'll tighten them with the prongs. Okay. I hope everyone made it here. Okay, I hope the announcements went out. I'm still trying to figure out the social media marketing aspect of this. I am a total noob at all of that. So bear with me if I'm sending too many or not sending the correct kind of notifications. I'll get it figured out. There we go. Alright, I switched to a smaller 70-degree burr. All I'm doing is trying to make these prongs the seats a little more uniform. It's hard to see the angle that your 70 degree is sitting at, and it takes some practice to make sure that you're lining up level with the prong when you make these cuts. That's really the only way to get there, though, is practice. You have to do it 1,000 times, and then you just kind of naturally hold it at the correct angle. You do a lot of kind of what I'm doing here, which is redressing some of those seats. Okay, now this having a very deep pavilion, both of the aquas have a very deep pavilion, very shallow crown. I'm going to go ahead and angle the bottom seat, the pavilion seat, down to account for that. There we go. Hope it's not too disorienting moving around the microscope here. From my end, it's pretty easy, but I know from a camera, if you don't expect that movement, it can be a little disorienting. When I have two pieces here and I need to focus on one, I'm going to be chasing those around, moving the microscope back and forth with my head. It's just the way you have to do it. Making sure you can get in focus, you have to come up and down with the microscope. The head of the microscope itself has to move up and down. You can do that with an adjustment, a knob adjustment, but most of the time that doesn't travel far enough. from our levels of zoom. If I zoom all the way out here, I have to bring the microscope way up. If I zoom all the way in, which I'm not going to do now, I have to push that microscope way down to get a good focus. Okay, so I've got the seats on these pretty uniform. Got one more there that I need to pick up. I'm going to test fit these stones just to see how deep I need to cut them. And first I'm going to clear some of this thermalock out. I'm going to do that with a ball burr. Okay, got those cleared out. I don't think I'm going to make contact with the basket with these stones. Just drop her in here. See how much I'm going to have to cut away. Yep, I'm not going to make contact with the basket. I will need to cut a little bit more for the girdle. But I think I like the height, so we're just going to go with it. All right. Let's cut for the girdle and for the crown on these stones. Zoom in here and get a good look at it as we work. Okay. Okay. Let's test fit our first stone here. Whoops. Tried to go into the wrong setting. There we go. Okay, at a glance, I like how that sits. I think that's going to work well. I may have to deepen those just a hair. Let's take our seats just a hair deeper. Kind of thin girdles on this, but I'm still going to relief enough for them to fit well. Okay, I like how that's sitting there. Alright, I think that'll be perfect for that stone. Let's go ahead and pull those prongs back and do a test fit. Gently pulling that back. Trying to make the turn right there at the seat instead of bending the whole prong. That way, once we bring that back over the top of the stone, the prong looks like it's straight and it's never been bent. Doesn't have any kind of weird kinks in the back. Okay. I like how that's going to fit. I think that'll be a winner. Scratch a little A on this side, just so I know which stone fits where. There's my A. And there's a B. And I've got the stones laid out so I keep track of which one's which. Okay. We'll test fit our second stone. Gently pull that back. And another. And drop our stone in there and see what it looks like. This one's got a little bit thinner girdle than the other. Just need to give it a little more space, I think. To sneak in. And we're going to have to angle those seats down just a hair more. Make sure that stone sneaks right in place where we want it. Okay. I have to angle the seat down just a hair more on this side. Let that fall in place. I'm going to spin this guy around and see if he fits any better any other direction. Not particularly. Okay. Let's angle those seats down just a hair more. All we're doing is allowing for the deeper pavilion angle on these aquas. Okay. Well, it doesn't want to fit all the way in. There we go. Just got to turn her the right way. Perfect. I like how that sits, but what I am going to do is raise the seat just a little hair. Make absolutely sure that we don't contact the girdle before we contact the crown. Or the junction between the girdle and the crown. It's kind of what we want to avoid touching first, because if we keep pulling that over, we're going to overpressure that little junction, chip the side of the stone. We don't want that. We like happy, intact stones. Okay. Real quick. Just a moment here. Okay. All right. Sorry about the delay there. This stone has a particular way of fitting in. There we go. Yep, I am happy about that. Let's drop the other stone in. Make sure they're uniform in height. I think those look pretty good. Okay. Let's do the cleanup on the prongs. We'll set those stones, and we'll move on to something else. So I'm going to go in with an end brush first. Lightly polish those seats. Make sure I clean up anything on the inside that might have gotten nicked or tool marked. Same thing on this side. Run that end brush in reverse just to make sure we keep those seats level and don't over polish on one side of that. Same thing over here. Okay, I'm going to switch to a small wheel brush. I'm going to use that wheel brush to clean up the sides of the prongs. Making sure those are as clean as possible before we put the stone in. That'll just save us some cleanup. Very lightly hit the prongs and the stones. They're going to be up under the edges of the aquas once they're in, so they'll be kind of hard to polish after the stones are in. So all we're doing is lightly brushing over them, just to make sure they have a nice shine before we put those aquas in. Okay, let's clear off our debris. Okay. Feel good about those. Let's get the stone set. Making sure we put the right stone in the right setting, since we cut these particularly for each mounting. That one sits relatively level. We'll be able to make adjustments once we get the stone in. All right. And grab the back of the prong and give it a gentle twist as we bring it in. Now, I'm not going to try to get it all the way down on the stone yet. That'll come a little later. Just a gentle twist. Just bringing that up to match where the other prongs are. Now, with an aqua, and the way they cut this, on a diamond you would have a pair of facets. I'm gonna zoom in here real close. We're gonna take a look at this stone. Okay. Table, star facet, that little triangle right there. Kite facet, and then these guys right here. On diamond, this would be split into two separate facets, and there'd be a facet junction there. But on the way they cut aquas and other colored stones, they usually leave that as a single facet. Not exactly sure why, but maybe a diamond cutter could tell us. But on a round diamond, if I were to set it in a 4-prong setting, I would go ahead and notch the top seat of my prong so that it hugged the top of that facet junction. But on this aqua, I'm going to opt instead to leave that flat, because I already know that's going to be flat. Flat on the junction there. So let's go ahead and bring our prongs down. I'm going to zoom in real close here so you can see. I'm going to gently bring that prong down and over, making sure we don't make too much contact on the junction between the girdle and that facet. But you see it lays nicely on top of that one. Now on a larger diamond, you wouldn't, if you opted not to cut that extra little relief for that facet, you might be sitting on top of that facet junction, and that can cause the stone to sometimes spin out, or appear that your prong isn't all the way down. So a good way to make sure that your stone looks nice and tight and can't turn out of your orientation is to add that little extra relief. Now that stone is nice and tight in there. We've got 2, 3 prongs down. We're going to move the last one down, and we're going to set our other stone. Last prong here. Looks like it got a little bent, probably in polishing. We're going to bend it back slightly, and then we're going to bring it all the way down on the stone. Just like so. And there is a very tight aqua. Looking at it from the sides, it is level with the halo. Maybe a little off here. I'm going to back this prong off and bring this prong down just a hair to bring that up. Backing that off just a hair. Then I can grab the back of this one prong and bring it down gently. That'll rock the stone into place, level with the halo, and then I can bring this prong back over so that it makes contact all the way down on the stone. And that guy is tight. Alright. Let's take a look at it from the side, make sure we're all level. May have to bring that a little bit this way. Gently down. Perfect. Alright. I feel good about the level there. That stone is nice and tight. Click, click, click. Let's put the other one in. Alright, now this one wanted to only sit down in the seat from one direction. So we're going to have to spin her around just to make sure we get it aligned correctly. There we go. Sits in there nicely. I'm going to grab the two prongs we bent back and just move them up to meet the stone. We're not going to try to tighten them up yet. Before I get that one too tight, I'm going to back this prong off a hair. Just give it a little wiggle room. I'm going to make sure we turn it so it's oriented correctly. Almost there. There we go. Have our stone oriented with our prongs, and now we can bring the prongs down to meet the stone. Both sides. Usually you want to set these using opposite prongs. Give that a gentle wiggle as I bring it over. Make sure that prong's all the way down on the stone. Not too terribly concerned about where the prongs face, because we're going to cut those off at the level of the stone. Very tight. Let's check the level. Feel pretty good about those. Alright. Alright. Two tight set aquas. Let's cut those prongs off, and we'll move on to something else. CatJack9 says, that is gorgeous. Thank you. These are very nice aquas. Alright. let's start with this guy over here. Okay, we're going to cut the prongs off just a hair above the table height. Give us plenty of metal to work with to cut burr them down. Make them look nice. Okay. All right. Cool. Now we're going to cut these off. Next one. Okay. We're going to take a sanding disc. And we're going to trim those down just a hair more. A little bit closer to the stone so it's a little bit easier for us to cut burr. Pay careful attention not to touch the top of the stone with the sanding disc. We shouldn't have to worry about abrading the stone with this, but we don't want to take any unnecessary chances. I'm just going to take those down where we can get a good height for the cut burr, where we don't have to take away too much metal with the cut burr, and we don't have to sit there and grind it away. Alright. Cool. Alright. Let's get that in focus. Okay, we've got those set up well. I'm going to switch to a cut burr and take those prongs down so they're nice little cannonballs sitting on top of stone. One moment here. Okay, there we go. Alright, let's pick a cut burr that's going to fit well on that and cut those down real quick. Into the microscope. It's going to be a little bit, well, just a hair too big. We're going to cut it with another one and then we'll come back and trim it with that. There we go. That'll be the perfect size. We will go to our flex shaft for this. Bear with me, I'm going to scoot the microphone just a little further away. If I say anything, I'll speak a little louder. My flex shaft likes to tap that microphone as I'm working, and I know that gives some feedback.
Alright, let's zoom in real close so we can see what we're doing here. Alright. Whoa. Spinning out. That can happen if you have an oblong prong due to a file or sanding disc or something. Instead of abrading that, cutting it away, it'll kind of mush the metal. You can also do that with the saw. Mush the metal toward the stone. Make your prong appear to be oblong. All you have to do is cut it away with a file first, and then, or just do what I did here. Use your cut burr, run it on the front edge of the prong first, and then roll it back toward the back edge, or the back side. The prong butt. Round this off so it has a nice round appearance. There we go. Alright, that thermal lock under this one is heating up, so I'm going to switch to the other one real quick. Do a couple of those prongs first, and then I'll come back to that after it's cooled down. Okay, let's go back through and make sure these are nice and uniform in height and shape. And once we polish them, as long as we're consistent, it will be nice and round. I apologize for Biscuit and Buttermilk out there. They're letting everyone know that that they're here. They are here. They just want everyone to know in the neighborhood that they are indeed there, and they're watching. All right. Prongs are looking good. Take that one down just a hair more. No. That guy down just a hair more also. Okay. Gonna make sure those are nice and even. Okay, got two matched aqua halo earrings here that we are almost done with. Huh, my microscope cam reset there. Let's get it back in frame. Okay. One moment here. Sorry to do this live. There we go. Slight delay there in my okay. My other camera. Alright, so now we're going to take a graver, a sharp graver, and we're going to cut any of this excess metal off the front of these prongs and reduce the amount of polishing we have to do to get them clean. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to take these out of the thermolock. We're going to throw them in some acetone to take the thermolock off, and then we'll hand polish them and get them out. All right. I'm going to be careful not to overheat these, being aquas. I'm just going to try to heat the thermolock around them. You might get a little residual heat, but nothing that's going to affect the stone. See that thermolock start to bubble. We should be able to reach in here with a set of tweezers under the stone, or under the mounting, and lift that guy out just like so. Woo, hot, hot, hot. There we go. Alright, so we're going to take these, we're going to put them one at a time into some acetone. Take the thermolock off, like I said. And then we'll come back and polish. And I'm going to take all the little scratches out of this before we go to plate it. Now you'll notice it may come through on the camera, but even just the lightest bit of polish is taking this metal from a white into a slightly yellow white. And that's just the rhodium plating that was already existing. That polish will take it off. If it was very lightly plated, then it won't even take but a little wheel brush, a little brush to take it off. Cleaning up the back of these prongs. Slightly across the front of these, just shine them up just a bit, staying off the facet junctions if I can. Always go in the opposite direction when I polish. It's called feathering your polish. Just prevents little streaks and lines. We end up with something really nice. Okay, lightly touching up the settings here, and we will probably use this as our demo piece for these two pieces as our demo piece for our electroplater. So stay tuned for that. We'll get to that before too long. I think we've got two more pieces to address, and I have a stone for our cross that had a runaway stone. So we're going to put that in and finish that cross out. You get to see what it looks like as a completed project. That cross was from episode 2 and had a little stone jump and run off on us, but we got it back. Alright, I have not given up on our big oval yet. I'm going to take a good look at it, see if it, or a big opal. We're going to see if it's going to work. We might try to set it next, if that's going to work. Just making sure I come on at every angle on these prongs. Okay, let's clean up the front of them. And that prong is not down all the way, so let's gently try to fix that. Much better. Okay. All right. So these can go into the ultrasonic